Hey parents, Mark Friestad here from the Junior High Ministry. I want to share with you a piece of drone footage that James Walton, who works with our 4th through 6th graders, shot and shared with the staff recently because it actually gave me some clarity about doing ministry during this COVID shutdown time. And then I want to share with you about some summer plans and talk about a new initiative we've been working on called Discipleship Experience. So it was a cloudy day in Carlsbad. James decided to raise his drone up above the cloud layer, and I was so struck about the way this related to my own feelings about the coronavirus shutdown time. Down below, it's cloudy, it's busy, it's gloomy. Up above, there's a whole new something going on. And there's times in this pandemic when I've felt bummed and angry and depressed and lost, just saying, how are we supposed to do ministry with kids when we can't gather together? But there's been other times when I've been refreshed with a new kind of above the clouds perspective and even some optimism. There is plenty of things that we've tried during shutdown that haven't worked that well. I'll admit I was kind of naive going into the shutdown, thinking it's only going to be a couple weeks, then we'll be back on campus. And of course now we know that this was not and is not a short-term thing. Even if they allow church gatherings this summer, it looks like social distancing is here to stay for a while. So we can get hung up on what we can't do or what isn't exactly the same. Daily video devotionals. That was meant to fill a short-term gap, giving kids a little teaching every day. And viewership has gone like this. Not to say that we won't continue those, but in a world of really well-produced, slick, funny online videos, it's just hard to sustain an audience. Zoom groups on Wednesday night. Anything new and novel is fun, but the novelty does wear off. Some kids are completely zoomed out. They're on it for school a lot. And one of my leaders pointed out that Zoom does not easily accommodate the way that kids communicate with each other. I thought this was very interesting. Kids have a lot of side conversations. They tend to talk over one another. And in Zoom, everybody has to be quiet. The spotlight is on you. That's pressure. That's awkward. And so kids tend to clam up and give really, really short answers. Again, I'm not saying we won't continue doing Zoom groups. I'm just saying it's not the same as meeting in person. Now, I am sad to say that we are not going to be able to do summer camp this year. I'm a big camp fan, but this year it is just too risky. I mean, can you imagine if we were up in Big Bear and there was an outbreak among our group or another group there, or we had to be yelling at kids to keep a mask on and stay 6 feet apart? No way. So those are the things that make me gloomy. But when I considered that footage, I remembered a couple things. Number one, God is limitless, and so of course He is still at work in ways that we don't realize. And down the road of your kid's life, this shutdown will be a blip on the radar screen of their lives. We don't need to be discouraged. And then on the ministry side, we need to focus ourselves on the eternal purposes, not the stuff below the clouds. It's actually driven me to reconsider the ultimate purpose, the ultimate goal. So often in youth ministry, we get hung up on the form of things, the setting, the vibe, the gathering. But our purpose is not gathering. The gathering itself has a purpose, and that purpose is ultimately to call kids towards discipleship. That's the function. When we try to make the form the same online as it is in person, and we can't, then we hit a roadblock because it will never be the same in form. But we also need to guard against giving kids a faith that is dependent on context. When we think, we can't grow unless the youth group meets, can't grow spiritually unless summer camp happens, we are guilty of doing what youth ministries are so guilty of doing. We are hooked on the form. We're not thinking about the function. We engage kids in Christian activities, but we never really challenge them to a lifestyle of discipleship. We, in youth ministry, give kids mountaintop experiences, one after the other, but we never really teach kids how to climb that mountain themselves. So what we need to do during this time, when we can't gather together, is show kids how to have a faith that is not context dependent. The form of digital ministry will come up short, but the function, the mission remains the same. And so during this time, I've just been really convicted. I want to double down in online discipleship, because if the heart of someone's Christian life is a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, the Son of God, and the way to nurture any relationship is through time spent together, then why wouldn't it make sense that during this time, when kids have abundant time on their hands, we should challenge them in learning how to spend meaningful time with God? And that's where Discipleship Experience comes in. Whatever else we dream up this summer, and we're going to hold the summer calendar really loosely, okay? I mean, the guidelines on what we can and can't do just seem to change so often. I can't confidently say that what we're not allowed to do at the beginning of the summer will be the same at the end. I just don't know. For the moving up to new grades, and for some kids, new age groups, we're just waiting. It'll be the end of summer at the very latest, but we're just waiting. But alongside any of this, we're launching something that's been on the back burner for a while, and it's simply a way of teaching your son or your daughter how to meaningfully spend time with God, and that's Discipleship Experience, DX for short. What it is a 40-plus day challenge. They enter it with a partner, and they learn together how to spend time with God. There's a devotional involved. This book is out of print, so I wrote to the authors. I said, would you allow me to distribute this free of charge digitally? And they said, yeah, go for it. But I want you to understand that DX is not about just putting a book in the hands of kids and saying, here, read this. Because I found that almost never succeeds. It's coming alongside of kids and teaching them how to use a devotional for its intended purpose, which is time with God. There's a reason they do it as a partner. It's the same reason that you or I might exercise with a partner or diet with a partner, and that's that human beings are rotten at adopting new habits and staying with it. And so we need a discipline, which is something outside of ourselves, to keep us going. The other element to this is that kids will meet with a coach once a week who will encourage them and help them get the most out of their time. If your son or daughter does this, then every day they go through the devotional, they'll fill out a little online form. Those forms get sent to the coach reviews it, and then talks about it and encourages them in developing the new habit. Now, here's the catch, and the catch is if you push this too hard, your kid may not want to do it. And that's normal. That's a normal growing up process called differentiation. It's a way of kids saying, Mom, Dad, you are you, and I am me. I am different from you. We're not the same person. So I'll just say, you know your kid best. You know how hard you can push. For some of you, all you can do is drop a mention. For others of you, you may be able to pass along the video that I recorded for students. It's on our YouTube channel. It's on all of our social media channels. You might be able to push it a little bit. But I will say, we can't really expect something out of kids that we ourselves aren't willing to practice, can we? And so maybe you go watch the video that I recorded for students on DX, and if it jumpstarts your own motivation to kickstart your devotional life, well, hey, that's a double win, isn't it? How cool would it be if we reopened our doors at the church and your kid brought in a new understanding of what church and the purpose of church is? As I said in the video I made for them, so often when we think of church, we're thinking of buildings. But the work of church is the building up of you and me into disciples. Church that we think of, the building, is just a setting where that ought to happen. And so some of us are sad right now that church isn't happening, meaning the doors aren't open. But I think what makes God sad is when the doors of the church building are opening and the work of the church, the building up of you and me, still isn't happening. So DX launches soon. Encourage your son or daughter in the best way that you can, and stay tuned. Do your best to enjoy this summer in whatever form that's going to take, and I do hope that you and your family are doing well.